There were two shootings that made the news this weekend, one in Belgium at the Jewish Museum and one in California. One of these shootings was immediately labelled a hate crime, whereas one, if you're to believe the media, was merely the work of a mentally ill young man. Within hours of the shooting at the Jewish Museum in Brussels, ministers there had labelled it an anti-Semitic crime and had raised the awareness and the protection of Jewish organisations elsewhere in the city. Whereas if you were to look at the way the mainstream media reported the shooting in California, you would be actually hard-pressed to find out that it was a hate crime against women. Elliot Rodgers wanted people to know that he hated women, and this is why he was committing murders, because women wouldn't sleep with him and because other men were getting the women that he clearly deserved. The Jewish Museum shootings, however, may not have been anti-Semitic in nature, and there have been reports since that it was a much more targeted attack on certain individuals. So why was it that the media was so quick to label that as a hate crime, but you have to search hard and read only extreme feminist articles to look at the misogyny behind the motives of Elliot Rodgers' murders? The media was keen to report that Elliot Rodgers had a number of psychiatrists and that his family was seeking help for him and were concerned for his behaviour. And I think this is important. I think that the system did fail him here, and I think it's ridiculous that a young man who was clearly so troubled was able to have 3 guns registered to his name. But regardless of this, there still should have been more focus of the acts that he committed as hate crimes. We are quick to label people as racist when they commit murders and as anti-Semitic if they attack Jewish establishments, and yet here was a man clearly stating that he was committing murders because of his hatred of women, and this wasn't reported. Why? Because of the environment of male entitlement that encouraged Rodgers to commit these murders. I believe personally that anyone who sets out to kill such a large number of people has to be in some way mentally ill, but obviously I have no medical knowledge behind that, and I'm very willing to listen to why I'm wrong on that matter. But regardless of that, the fact that Elliot Rodgers could easily find men's rights groups and anti-women content on the internet and just everywhere around him no doubt encouraged him. And this is the world that we're living in, to the extent that the media failed to report this properly. There have been a lot of men who have been angry that there have been areas of the internet where people have said that this is a big problem for women generally. That women are sometimes scared to say no, that women have to pretend that they have boyfriends in order for guys to back off at a bar, as if they'll only respect another man's possession of you rather than you as a person yourself. But we're not saying here that every man is a perpetrator, we're not saying that every man is a rapist, we're not saying that every man is a murderer because women won't go out with him. We are saying that as a society that was very male-led until actually very recently, we have made it okay for women to be catcalled in the street, to be called demeaning terms such as honey and darling and sweetheart and love, as if we're not meant to be offended by those things. We've created exactly the sort of culture that encourages the misogyny that led to these murders, and by not reporting it as misogyny, we're only encouraging it further. I'm lucky to be surrounded by a lot of people who are very feminist and who are proud of their feminism and very vocal about it. And I'm lucky to have created this little world on the internet for myself, which makes it seem like more people are like this with the people I follow on Twitter, on Tumblr, and I'm friends with on Facebook, and even to a certain extent the newspapers I choose to read. But to most people, this sort of extreme feminism has negative connotations and is viewed in the same sort of way as we view men's rights activists, as crazy people who have no grasp of reality. The culture we live in brings up boys to be tough and excuses away violence in young men by simply saying boys will be boys, and then we're surprised when that facilitates this sort of violence. So maybe something good can come of this. Maybe the yes all women hashtag will raise awareness among some men. Maybe they'll start to see that no, we're not blaming all men for this, but maybe they'll start to become aware of the fact that if you ignore it, you too are part of the problem. And at the very least, maybe the media will learn from its mistakes and realise that a hate crime is a hate crime, whether it's against Jews or it's against women. That's it for me this week, guys. I'll see you all next week. Bye.